Welcome to NFL World, when the NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob, and happy Super Bowl week to you all. This is going to be a very fun matchup, a rematch of Super Bowl 49. And I want to take you through both sides, both teams here. Let's start off with the Patriots. What a ride it's been. You go from firing or Bill Belichick leaving, stepping down as the Patriots head coach. You hire Gerard Mayo to proceed to go 4-13 again with a offense that the offensive line wasn't very good, the run game struggled, but somehow the run game was also the best part of your team. The wide receivers were not very good, but they had one spark on offense. And it was this quarterback out of the University of North Carolina named Drake May, who just kind of gave a boost, a little bit of juice to this offense. Even though they didn't win many games, when he entered the lineup, you could just feel the energy of that offensive line and that offense as a whole. The defense, that was a different story. It was just bad. The team was bad on defense. They couldn't get pressure. You struggling to do these simple things. Like Dick Vermeil used to say, keep doing the right things right. Well, the Patriots couldn't do that because they didn't know what the right things were. What were the right things? They didn't know. You made the choice to fire Gerard Mayo basically as quickly as you could at season's end, out of respect. That's why you did it at the end of the year, because otherwise you would not have had the job. You go and say, who can we hire? The rumor was Mike Vrabel. And they end up hiring Mike Vrabel as the head coach. Had success when he was with Tennessee. That relationship kind of soured at the end. They bring in Josh McDaniels for his third stint as the Patriots offensive coordinator, who he was previously the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, and that relationship ended badly also. You could see the things they did. The run game got better. They bring in 2 tackles. They draft Will Campbell. They bring in Morgan Moses, who's the ageless one at this point. He's still making unbelievable play after unbelievable play on that offensive side of the ball. You bring in Stephon Diggs. You bring in Matt Collins. And you didn't really do a whole lot to that wide receiver room outside of that. You drafted some guys, but mostly those were the 2 big name guys you brought in. And Matt Collins isn't even really a big name. You draft Trevion Henderson, which I got to admit, I was a little upset about. I liked him coming out of college, and I wanted him on the Cowboys personally. That's my opinion of it, but he's a great player. The run game got a lot better. The offense got a lot better. Drake May looked better in year 2 compared to year 1. I love what I saw from Drake May the entire year. I have to admit that. To me, you can make a very good argument, and to me, I think you'd be 100% right to make this argument. I think Drake May should be the MVP. The way he's played, I thought about this last week. We are going to have, for the I think it's the 3rd consecutive year in a row, but it's the 2nd out of 3 years, where the player who's led the league in completion percentage has been in the Super Bowl. That's unheard of. But that's how much Drake May led the league in completion percentage. They ran the ball well. They played great defense, led by the acquisition of Milton Williams, who's trying to go back-to-back as a Super Bowl champion. They bring in Carlton Davis to help out Christian Gonzalez on the other side. They bring in Robert Spillane. They bring in Kayvon Chason, who had a nice year with the Raiders last year, came in as their sack specialist. They've drafted some guys. They brought in a couple other guys who've been good rotational pieces. They started the season, that secondary was very murky. It was just not going to work. It was Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers at that time. They rebodied it in a way where they said, no, let's get rid of those guys. Jabril will be over here. He has his own issues going on. We're just going to trade Kyle Duggar, and we're going to go and have Hawkins and our young rookie Woodson be our secondary. And it's worked. That safety room has been awesome. It's just been a great effort. Like I said about Drake May, you can make the argument that he should be an MVP. And in my opinion, he should be. I don't think there's any argument that changes the fact of Mike Vrabel should be coach of the year. And like I said earlier this year, it should be unanimous. I mean, they went 2 months without losing a game. 2 months. I don't want to hear the schedule was easy. I don't want to hear that. It's hard to win in the NFL. It's hard. And yet they won 8 straight weeks. I know in the postseason it has not been all sunshine and rainbows on that offensive side of the ball. They've gone against really talented defenses, and they do it again this week. They faced the Chargers, and that offensive line got pushed around by Khalil Mack, Odafe Owe, Tui Pelotu. I know they got pushed around, but they won. It wasn't a high-scoring affair, but they won. They go against Houston. They're facing Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter and those guys, and they got pushed around in that game too, but they won. That was a little more high-scoring. But you had a great job by that defense, who got turnovers, who forced mistakes, the same thing they did against the Chargers. They forced turnovers, they made mistakes, they capitalized on them. That's what you got to do. And the thing I like about what Vrabel does, he shows that there's 3 phases to a game. There's offense, there's defense, and there's special teams. And you're seeing that in this playoff. It's not just offense making plays, it's defense, it's special teams that are all making the plays. That's the real winner of this, is they're great in all 3 phases. The game against Denver, they couldn't really move the football, but they forced mistakes, they capitalized on their special teams, and that's how they won. Now you go against Seattle, who has a great defense also, and probably the best offense that the Patriots are going to face in this postseason. But you got to give Coach of the Year to Mike Vrabel for what he's done, what he's accomplished with this team in 1 year. You have to give credit to all those coaches and players for what they've done. You have to give credit to the ownership for saying, hey, we're going to reshape this offense. We're going to reshape this defense. We're going to add pieces to this defense. But you know what? We got to get this head coaching right, and we had to hire Mike Vrabel. And they did. And it worked. And now they are having a chance to go in this 11th Super Bowl appearance. They've won 6, so they're 60% in the big game. Like, this is your 11th appearance since all time, but since not all time per se. 11 appearance in Bob Kraft's time, 12th appearance all time. That you can't describe it anyway. It's been a great ride. You have to give the head coach of the year to Vrabel, the MVP to Drake May, because I don't know how else you can give it to anybody. Like, who else can you give it to? They've been awesome. They've been dominant throughout. When you don't lose a game for 2 months, and then losing a game and everyone's like, oh, they're going to lose now. They didn't lose a game for 2 months. It's impressive. Now let's talk about the other impressive team in the NFL in this Super Bowl, and this is the Seattle Seahawks. Last year, the first year under Mike Macdonald, they were a 7-win team. They missed the playoffs, but they were good. You're like, how are they going to expand in that? They need another this, they need another that. They need to fix this offensive line, kind of shore it up. That defense needs a little bit of work, but they started to make some moves and strides at the end of last season. So it wasn't like they were far away, but we didn't know how good they were going to be. And then they decided, we're going to trade Sam Darnold we're going to go sign Sam Darnold, but we're going to trade Geno Smith away. That, I got to be honest, that had me almost pulling my hair out. Why would they do that? Geno played so well. I know he led the league in turnovers, but he played so well. And yet they said, nope, we're getting rid of him. We're going to bring in Clint Kubiak, and we're going to sign Sam Darnold, which it worked. It was a nice marriage that they had going there. They mirrored the passing game and the run game. We talked about this. They have a great run game, a great run attack with Charbonnet and Walker. I know Charbonnet tore his ACL in this playoffs, but Walker's carried the load, and you know he's going to be brought back as a free agent. You know it. He's going to make big-time money. If not there, then somewhere. You go and you say, okay, now we got a new quarterback. Who's going to be the wide receiver? Because we let go of Tyler Lockett. So now they need another wide receiver to pair with JSN and DK Metcalf. Wrong. We're going to trade DK Metcalf to the Steelers. So it's now just going to be JSN. What's going to happen here? Turns out they were just fine. They were just good. They didn't care. JSN led the league in yards. Then midway through the season, they said, we need to make a trade. We need some juice. We need some speed that we don't really have outside of JSN. Who can we go get? Clint Kubiak calls up his old friend Rashid Shaheed, gets him over from New Orleans, helps in the kick return game, the punt return game, and also on offense. Because you can't, that's game-breaking speed right there. That's what he brings. It's impressive. When guys are so fast that they look like everyone else looks like they're running in slow motion, that's crazy. That's an unbelievable speed, and that's what he brings. So that helped the offense out. Sam Darnold played really well. The offensive line has played very well. But it's this defense that has been so good. Signing DeMarcus Lawrence, coming over from the Cowboys. He's been really good for them. Then they go pairing him with Leonard Williams, who's been a monster for a long time, and he still is a monster. He gets to compete in his first Super Bowl. Byron Murphy's coming into his own. Played really well this year. Nwosu has played very well this year. Almost had a career year in sacks. It was awesome. Witherspoon in the slot is a monster. He's been really good. Reek Woolen's been really good. He's had some lapses, I know, but he's been really good. The addition of Emoy, who's been unbelievable, and then moving Kobe Bryant to safety to split with him, with Emoy and Julian Love, they've been great. The re-signing of Ernest Jones, they've been really good. They've been awesome. They've been really, really awesome. You have to admit that. They've been great to watch. I love what I was watching. It's a great team. It's the most complete team the Patriots are going to face in this playoff. But I think it's going to be a great game. I know the Seahawks are favored, which I don't really think that's what it is. I think it's a toss-up game. I think it's going to come down to the last drive. Who has the ball last? It's going to be like the last time these two teams played. Who has the ball last? Who is doing the most with it? It's going to be a somewhat high-scoring game, but I have the Seahawks winning it in Santa Clara with a score of 28-24. Let's move on to the last bit of news we have, which is the Hall of Fame mistake. This is a big issue. The decision to not put Bill Belichick in the Hall of Fame, as we discussed before on this channel, the only solution I could give you was there's a fear that he comes back and coaches in the NFL, and they don't want a person who's in the Hall of Fame still coaching. That was the only solution I could give. But the Hall of Fame, it was announced yesterday that Robert Kraft, who owns the New England Patriots, is not getting put in the Hall of Fame either. this is a mistake by the Hall of Fame. Troy Aikman went on the Rich Eisen show. I think this was last week, and he said that it's a black eye on the Hall of Fame and it's a black eye on the league. Because not putting him in, like, who else deserves to be in? Who else? The rumor going around, and we'll get to that one, but here's my reasoning. Here's my reasoning, but here's a rumor. There's a rumor going around that we'll get into in a second here. My reasoning is, I think the NFL feels like since both of them were in, both of them are eligible, and both of them came from the same franchise, that the NFL did not want to put two New England Patriots in. And because of doing that, one side assumed that Belichick would get in or Kraft would get in. So they voted that Kraft wouldn't, so Belichick could. Or that Belichick couldn't, so Kraft could. And because of that, neither of them got it. That's my assumption. I'm against the Hall of Fame voting process in general. I made a social media post saying there should not be a limit. There should not be a fixed limit on how many people get in the Hall of Fame. I'll get back to that, but I want to get to this rumor that's been going around, which is this is the NFL's way of saying it's like a 1-year suspension that they can't get in the Hall of Fame because of Deflategate, Spygate 2.0, all these things. That's what they're that's what they're assuming, which I don't understand why we're even talking about that. I don't. For two reasons. One, I don't believe Belichick or Kraft knew anything about it. So why are they getting punished? The second thing, and this is the most important thing, when has it ever become the responsibility of a Hall of Fame or a sport to say, even though you're done coaching, playing, or you're not even an owner anymore, that we're putting in the Hall of Fame or something, we're going to say, no, we have principles. And our principles suggest that we're not putting in the Hall of Fame for right now because we're going to do this instead. It makes no sense. The Hall of Fame is the Hall of Excellence. It is to embody the game. They were involved in the game. They embodied the game. So at what point do we go and say, and it's the same thing, it's not just the NFL, baseball, football, basketball, hockey, soccer, boxing, whatever, UFC, whatever. They're there to embody the game. They're there to embody the fight. They're there to do that. The match, whatever. It's not on the Hall of Fame, and it should never be on the fans and the people who are going into the Hall of Fame or are going to want to be there to watch the idols get in to the Hall of Fame. It's not on them to say, well, hold on. They did something bad 20 years ago. They did something bad 5 years ago that we didn't feel like we got enough we feel we didn't give them enough punishment. So therefore, we're going to do it now. What? It makes no sense. I'm not going to bring up my Pete Rose story, but I definitely could. Look it up. It was embarrassing. I'm not going to bring it up, but it's embarrassing. Look at it now. It's embarrassing. Not just for what he did, but for what the league, what Major League Baseball chose to do. Football's doing the exact same thing. They're not maybe doing it as long of a period of time, but they're still doing it. Just not as long of a period. I want to go back to the point I was making earlier, what I said on social media. I said there should not be a fixed limit to how many people should be in the Hall of Fame year in and year out. 1 year there could be 4. The next year there could be 12. The next year there could be 6. It shouldn't be a fixed limit. If you want people in the Hall of Fame to care, and you say, well, we got to put L.C. Greenwood in. We got to put Darren Woodson in. We got to put Ken Anderson in. Okay. But does that make these people unwarranted? No. But are we also going to go and say, well, we're just going to push them off to the future? No, that's not right either. So I propose two things. You either make the classes bigger so all these guys can get in that 1 year, or you make two classes. You make two. You make one for active and you make one for non-active. That's what you do. And in this case, I'm saying Belichick can be inactive because he just left. It's still new. But L.C. Greenwood, for an example, or Ken Anderson, for an example, would be part of that secondary class, that second class, because they're not considered active. They weren't active for a couple years, for 10 years or something like that. That's what you did. You can do that. And I thought that's where the NFL was going. When they hit the NFL 100 and they did that and they put all these people in the Hall of Fame for the Century team, and they put in, what was it, like two Hall of Fame classes? I thought they were going to do that for a little while because they had so many backed up that they were just going to keep doing it. Maybe they would have lessened those classes, but they would have kept doing it. They chose not to, and they just reverted back and then made the Hall of Fame spots less. They made it less. For what reason? It makes no sense. Just put them all in the Hall of Fame. There's people who deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. L.C. Greenwood deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Why hasn't he been? I don't know. Ken Anderson, the first Bengal quarterback to go to a Super Bowl. Why isn't he in the Hall of Fame? Doesn't make any sense. Makes no sense. Drew Pearson, it took over 30 years to get in the Hall of Fame. He was the one player of the 1970s All-Decade team not in the Hall of Fame. Makes no sense. How does that happen on the offensive side of the ball? It makes no sense. Darren Woodson, 3-time Super Bowl champion. He's not in the Hall of Fame. How does that make sense? Bob Kraft has been to 11 Super Bowls. He has the best winning percentage since joining the league in 1994. How is he not in the Hall of Fame? How did you not vote him in? His first year as a finalist. How did you not vote him in? Makes no sense. He should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. He wasn't. Belichick. How is he not a first Hall of Famer? The guy has 8 Super Bowl wins and 6 of them were as a head coach. How is he not in the Hall of Fame? It makes no sense. The system is broken. It needs to be fixed. You can't put any more description to that. I don't know how else you describe what was going on. That the system is broken, it needs to be fixed now, and today. Because it's garbage. It's garbage. Because you're saying you have principles, it doesn't matter. Every Hall of Fame says that, and then yet they put in somebody who did something really bad. But they don't care. So there's no principles. There's principles when you think there should be. But when you say, nah, not really, then you forget about them. It's just a really dumb mistake that they should have never have happened. It should never have happened in the beginning. It should have been fixed a long time ago. You have to correct this because it's getting ridiculous. And the reason I brought up what I was thinking is the NFL has said that, where there's teams, Steelers, Cowboys, all those teams who have had been around for so long, they have a lot of players that deserve to be in who aren't in because the league doesn't want to put in 2 Cowboys or 2 Steelers or 2 Raiders or 2 whomever at the same time, which is ridiculous. Makes no sense. If they are really good and they deserve to be there, put them in there. It's that quick of an answer. There's no, oh, well, maybe, no. You just put him in. You just do that. It makes no sense. I want to bring up the Robert Kraft thing once more. There are 3 influential owners in the NFL. And this has been the case for the last decade. Arthur Blank, who owns the Atlanta Falcons, Jerry Jones, who owns the Dallas Cowboys, and Robert Kraft, who owns the New England Patriots. Not in any particular order. Okay? I would say Arthur Blank is the most important because he's technically the chairman of the owners. So I would say he's the most important, but there's no particular order. For different reasons, they are all listened to. Arthur Blank is the chairman, like we suggested. Robert Kraft has won the most since he's been the owner. He's won the most, he's been to the most Super Bowls. It makes sense that he's talked to, and that's why he should be in the Hall of Fame. Jerry Jones is in the Hall of Fame for what he's done to expand the league from a financial standpoint. When he came in, there was only 2 networks. There was one network for Sunday, and there was one network for Monday. That was it. There was CBS for Sundays. There was ABC for Mondays. And Jerry said, no, let's have multiple for Sundays and make them pay us a lot of money, which expanded the league. He did the same thing with sponsorships, same thing with merchandise. He actually sued the NFL for sponsorships, for team sponsorships and merchandise. Because at the time, Lee was taking money from the merchandise deals. Now that goes to the team and the ownership. Sponsorships, same thing. And Jerry's like, why can't we have team sponsorships? The courts agreed, and then he won those. Is he living off past success? Sure, he's living off past success. But that's what the Hall of Fame is. It's the one final moment that you're, as fans and as a player or coach or an owner, that we can give them the final moment of what they want, which is the spotlight in sports one more time. And I think it's warranted for not just Bill Belichick and not just Bob Kraft, but for everyone who we deem as Hall of Famers. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Ebert.